Hi everyone, I'm Leslie with Chesterfield County Public Library, and today I'm going to show you how to decorate pens for Ccpl's Positive Pens project. Ccpl is partnering with Chesterfield County Mental Health Support Services to decorate pens to give to people who may be going through kind of a tough time or just need some extra support or encouragement. So today I'm going to show you what is in the kit that you picked up from your closest library branch. It's all the supplies you need to decorate pens for the Positive Pens project. In fact, we give you enough supplies to decorate 2 pens. Now you might notice a couple of things about these pens. One is that we do not include caps because once you decorate the pens, the caps will no longer fit on them. Also, you may notice that we have already removed the ink cartridges for you. This is a very important step because once we decorate the pens with polymer clay, you will need to bake the pens as your last step to harden the clay. And we definitely do not want the ink cartridges to go into the oven. I haven't experienced it personally, but I've read that the ink cartridges can explode the ink all over the oven. So we absolutely want these to stay separate until the pen is completely done. You will also find in your kit little bundles of polymer clay. Each bundle has 2 colors and each bundle will be used for 1 pen. There are also a plastic knife which you will use for slicing the polymer clay. It is currently stuck in my bag at this moment, but it's going to come out, I know it. You will use the knife, the plastic knife, to slice the polymer clay for the technique that we'll be using today. I'll show you that in just a moment. You will also find a paper clip, and the paper clip you may not need, but if you do, the reason we've included it is because you can unbend it, and it is a very narrow tool that you can use to make sure that no clay gets into the opening at the end of the pen where you will need to reinsert the ink cartridge when you're done. There are several positive quotes or inspirational thoughts for you to include with your pens. And on the back, you can also write your own message if you want to. You can sign your name if you want to, but if you do sign your name, please only sign your first name. Or maybe you just want to choose which quote you like better for the pen that you want to donate to the Positive Pens project. Now, we are including enough supplies for 2 pens so that you can make one for yourself or to give as a gift to someone in your own life. So you might want the additional positive quote if you want to use that pen for someone else. If you want to donate both pens to the Positive Pens project, that's great too. We would be happy to accept them. But this way you have your choice of positive quotes. We also have a blank little card if you want to write your own positive message of encouragement. You can do that. And we have some string for you to tie your notes to your pen. And finally, we have instructions because you will need to bake the pens at home when you are all done before you donate the pens to us. And also we have the list of supplies that we're using with specific brand names and things like that in case you are interested in making your own pens in the future. So I'm going to demonstrate how to make the pens in just a moment, and I'll see you in just a bit. All right, we have readjusted the camera. First, I did want to show you some samples of some completed pens. These are just a few that I have made using the technique that I am going to show you in just a minute. And this one was actually only 2 colors. It was blue and yellow, and so the green happened because it did kind of mix a little bit and blend the colors. And then I also wanted to show you that some of the pens that I've made do have little mistakes on them. So I want you to be careful when you bake them at the end, because if you have even just a little crumb or a different color, or if they touch while they're baking, you might end up with a permanent little bit of color that you don't want on the pen too. But the pens are going to look something like this when we're all done. I've also created a workspace here, it's a good idea to have some kind of a table covering or just a plain piece of paper. If you use anything with printing on it, like that has been through an office printer or newspaper or anything like that, the ink may come up onto the clay and you don't want that. But it is a good idea to have something to protect the table, but also to protect the clay and keep it clean for your pen. So these are the colors of clay that I got from my kit, and I'm going to separate them out. And I do want to be careful. I'm going to work first with the yellow clay because the red is a really strong color. So there will be a lot of dye, and some clay will end up coming off on your hand. So it's a good idea to have some paper towels close by too. So first I'm going to make a worm out of the yellow clay. And I'll do the same thing with the red one. Now the red is a really strong color, so it might eat up the yellow a little bit. But just as we saw with that pen that was made with blue and yellow, we want to be careful to not blend the colors too much. It's okay if it blends some. That green looks kind of cool, but we don't want it to be like a straight, different color. So I'm just going to twist the two worms together and then smooth them out by rolling them in my hands again. And then I'll kind of fold it back on itself and twist it again and smooth it out by rolling it in my hands. And I'll keep doing that 3 or 4 or 5 times. Now I'm going to take the knife that came in the kit and just slice it into very thin slices. And then I will put the slices on the pen itself. I do want to cover the entire pen, including the top, and I want to cover it all the way down to the bottom. I just want to make sure no clay gets inside the bottom there. And when I add it to the pen, I'm just going to kind of smush it on. And I can choose to have the side facing up or the top facing up, any angle that I want. So I'm going to just smush it on there. And then I'll do another one. These two pieces were big enough to wrap all the way around the pen. I don't want the pieces to look separate though, so periodically I'm going to roll the pen in my hands to make it look more seamless, so it smooths it out. Now as I'm doing that, it's already starting to move up over the top, and that's fine. And so I can add maybe a small piece to the top. and just smooth that out. The top part is the trickiest because it seems like there's some kind of an air bubble or something in there sometimes. It does kind of a weird shape every now and then, but to try to get it on there smoothly can be tricky, but it is doable. And I'm not really a big fan of that big red blob right there, so I'm going to add just a little bit more of that. And if I scooch it around a little bit and smush it, then it'll just kind of look marbled. So as I add more clay to the pen, and as I move further down, while I'm still working up here, I'm going to need to keep an eye on this top and make sure it doesn't get weirdly lumpy. We're going to bake the clay at the very end to harden it, and that will not melt the clay or smooth out any imperfections or anything like that. It will only make permanent the bumps and lumps that we have. So we want to make sure we are happy with the way the clay looks before we bake it. You can also sometimes roll the pen against your paper. You can see where some of that red dye is coming off. So you do want to protect your table. You have your workspace. And I'm trying to make this as smooth and even as possible with kind of a consistent thickness throughout. I may need to go back and cut some more slices in just a minute, and that's fine. And some of these pieces are a little bit thick, actually. So all we're doing is just adding the slices all the way down and smushing them on and rolling. And we will keep doing that for the rest of the pen. Then when we get to the end, we will be very, very careful to make sure that no clay gets up inside the pen there. Ooh, that's a lot of red right there, so let's add some yellow. You can kind of maneuver it around if you want to. If you want to kind of help it marble. Okay, so now we're getting close to the end. We do want to go all the way to the edge, so this is not quite enough yet. But as we smooth it down, we want to make sure no clay gets inside. So we'll just use a little bit more because it's almost enough. Probably more than enough. And we want it to go right to the edge, but not past the edge. So we're gonna just peel off some of this. Oop, and there's some trying to get inside there that my fingernail will not get. So I will take the paper clip and unbend it a bit and get all of that out. Okay, we are almost done. So we especially want this part down here to be smooth because that's where people will hold the pen to write with it. So we want it to feel good in their hand. We don't want any extra lumps or bumps or random little pieces like crumbles that might end up feeling kind of sharp once it hardens. So that's looking pretty good, I think. So once I'm happy with it, I will bake it at 275 degrees for 10 minutes. It will be very, very hot when it is done. And so I want to be careful when I first take it out of the oven and wait for it to completely cool before I put the ink cartridge back inside. And then we do want it to go all the way in. And so you might want to press down a little bit on it like that to make it go all the way in. I'm not going to put it all the way in now because I still have to bake it. So I will set that aside. And once you have baked your pen and so the clay is hardened and you've put the ink cartridge back inside, you are ready to bring it back to the library. Please also make sure that you have your note, whether you want to just use the positive quote that came in your kit, or if you want to write a note yourself, please do attach that to your pen as well. And bring it on back to the library to donate to our Positive Pens project. To donate your pen to Ccpl's Positive Pens project, just bring it by your nearest Ccpl location. You can even use the bag that your supplies came in for that supply kit if you would like to. Please do make sure that the ink cartridge has been reinserted in the pen and that you are including your positive thoughts note as well. If you are a student and you need community service hours, making and donating a pen to the Positive Pens project does count as 1 hour of community service or volunteering. If you need documentation for that, please just ask at the service desk when you come to the library to turn in your pen, and we will be happy to give you a signed form to document that 1 hour. Thank you so much for participating in the Positive Pens project. It really does mean a lot to the people who receive the pens. They have let us know in the past that every time they use their pens, they are reminded that people care about them and wish them well, and it really does mean a lot to them. So thank you for your participation, and we will see you soon at the library. Bye.